I used to believe that love conquered all, that trust was unbreakable when built on years of shared dreams and promises. That was before I found the statement that shattered my world into a million gleaming pieces. My name is Lucille, and until last Tuesday I thought I had it all figured out. A corner office at Morrison & Blake Financial Services, a marriage that made my colleagues envious, and the kind of life my grandmother had always dreamed for me. The inheritance she left me was supposed to be our nest egg, our future. Another late night? Nigel's voice carried from the kitchen as I walked through our front door. The familiar smell of his signature pasta filled the house. The Harrison portfolio needed reviewing, I called back, dropping my briefcase by the stairs. Something felt off about their numbers. He appeared in the doorway, dish towel over his shoulder, that boyish smile that had made me fall for him 8 years ago still intact. Always the perfectionist. Come here. I let him pull me into a hug, breathing in the scent of garlic and his cologne. If I'd known then what I know now, I would have pushed him away. Mail came for you, he said, gesturing to the pile on the counter. Looks important. I flipped through the envelopes until I reached one from our bank. Usually Nigel handled the joint accounts, but this one was addressed to me specifically. I tore it open, expecting nothing more than a routine statement. The first transaction that caught my eye made my blood run cold. Nigel, I said, keeping my voice steady, why is there a transfer of $50,000 to your mother's account? He froze mid-stir, his back to me. Oh, that. Mum needed some help with her medical bills. Medical bills? I flipped to the next page. And I suppose Bruce needed medical attention too. Another $40,000 to his account? The wooden spoon clattered against the pot. Luce, I can explain. Explain what? My finger traced down the list of transactions. That you've been systematically draining my grandmother's inheritance to fund your family's lifestyle? The Maldives vacation your mother wouldn't stop bragging about at Christmas. Was that her medical treatment? He turned to face me, his expression a mixture of guilt and defiance. Their family, Lucille, they needed help. They needed help? I laughed, but it came out more like a sob. That money was meant for our future, Nigel, for the children we talked about having. How much is left? His silence was answer enough. How long? I demanded, gripping the counter to steady myself. How long have you been lying to me? 2 years, he whispered. Mom was in trouble with her mortgage, and then Bruce's business was failing, and it just snowballed. I thought about all the times I'd sat across from clients, advising them on protecting their assets, while my own husband had been stealing from me. The irony wasn't lost on me. Does your mother know where the money came from? He nodded slowly. They all do. They thought you'd understand. That since we're family now... Family? I cut him off. Family doesn't steal from each other, Nigel. Family doesn't conspire behind your back to take what isn't theirs. My phone buzzed. A text from Sandra. Drinks tonight. You seem off lately. If she only knew. We can fix this, Nigel pleaded, reaching for my hand. I pulled away. I'll talk to Mom, make arrangements to pay it back. With what money? I asked quietly. Your mother's vacation fund? Bruce's new Mercedes? The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Outside, a car alarm went off, its shrill wail matching the screaming in my head. I trusted you, I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. I trusted all of you. Lucille, please. I need some air. I grabbed my keys from the counter, the statement still clutched in my other hand. Don't follow me. As I drove through the darkening streets, my grandmother's voice echoed in my head. Never let anyone make you feel small, Lucille. Not even the ones you love. I pulled into the parking lot of our favourite bar, where Sandra would be waiting. My phone showed 3 missed calls from Nigel, but something else caught my eye. An email notification about our holiday home's property taxes. The holiday home we'd bought last year, the one Nigel's family didn't know about yet. A plan began to form in my mind, sharp and clear as crystal. If they wanted to take what was mine, maybe it was time to give them exactly what they deserved. I smiled for the first time since opening that statement. Nigel's family had no idea what was coming. "You're going to do what?" Sandra nearly choked on her martini, her eyes wide with disbelief. I took a slow sip of my wine, letting the warmth of revenge wash over me. "I'm going to sell the holiday home, the one Nigel thinks is our secret nest egg." "And then what? Show them the sold sign and say, 'Surprise.'" Sandra leaned forward, her voice dropping. "Lucille, this isn't you. The old me died when I saw that bank statement." I pulled out my phone, showing her the real estate agent's message. "The market's hot right now. I can get well above what we paid for it." "Have you even confronted his mother about this?" The memory of Alia's smug face at Christmas flashed through my mind. "Oh, you mean when she was showing off her Maldives photos? The ones my grandmother's money paid for?" Sandra winced. "Okay, point taken, but..." My phone buzzed. Another message from Nigel. I ignored it. "Remember what my grandmother used to say?" I asked, tracing the rim of my wine glass. "Sometimes the best revenge is letting people crash into the consequences of their own actions." "I don't think she meant it quite like this," Sandra muttered. The next morning, I met with Rachel, my real estate agent, at her office. The morning sun cast long shadows across her desk as she spread out the paperwork. "You're sure about this?" she asked, highlighting the signature lines. "It's a beautiful property." "I'm sure." I signed my name with steady hands. "How long until we can list it?" "We can have it up by this afternoon. The market's incredibly active right now." Perfect. Phase 1 of my plan was in motion. When I got home that evening, Nigel was waiting. He'd been sleeping in the guest room since our confrontation, but tonight he was in the kitchen, cooking again. A peace offering. "I talked to Mom," he said as I walked in. "She's willing to work something out." "Is she?" I kept my voice neutral, setting my briefcase down. "And what exactly did she suggest?" He stirred the pot nervously. She offered to let us use their timeshare in Florida. "As compensation." I laughed, the sound sharp enough to make him flinch. "Their timeshare, the one they bought with my money?" "Lucille, please. They're trying." "Not hard enough." I pulled out my laptop, making a show of checking my email. "But speaking of properties, I was thinking we should invite your family to the holiday home. You know, the one we bought last year." His spoon clattered against the pot. "What? Why not? It might be nice, all of us together. One big, happy family." The words tasted like vinegar in my mouth. "But we agreed to keep that place private, our special getaway." I smiled, thinking of the sold sign that would soon be standing in the front yard. "Times change, Nigel. People change. Besides, your mother's always talking about how family should share everything." He studied my face, uncertainty clouding his features. "You're serious about this?" "Absolutely." I opened my phone and started typing. "In fact, I'm sending them all invitations right now. Next weekend would be perfect." "Lucille." He reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Don't you trust me?" I echoed his words from countless conversations, watching them hit their mark. Later that night, I sat on our back porch, my grandmother's old shawl wrapped around my shoulders. The stars were bright, reminding me of nights spent on her porch listening to her stories of resilience and dignity in the face of betrayal. My phone lit up with responses from Nigel's family. Aaliyah's message was typically condescending. "How lovely of you to finally share with the family. We accept, of course." Bruce's response was immediate. "Great. Trisha and I could use a weekend away." I closed my eyes, imagining their faces when they realized what I'd done. The property would be sold by Thursday, leaving just enough time for the new owners to take possession before the family's planned arrival. Sandra's words from the bar echoed in my head. "This isn't you." Maybe she was right. Maybe this wasn't who I used to be. But then again, I used to be the woman who trusted her husband, who believed in family loyalty, who thought love meant something. My phone buzzed again. A message from Rachel. "First showing tomorrow. Multiple buyers interested." I smiled into the darkness. Grandmother always said that sometimes the universe has a way of balancing the scales. She just never mentioned that sometimes you have to help it along. Inside, I heard Nigel on the phone, probably talking to his mother. His voice was muffled, but I caught fragments. "Different lately. Worried. Don't know what to do. Good. Let him worry. Let them all worry. I pulled my grandmother's shawl tighter around my shoulders and started making lists in my head. People to call, arrangements to make, pieces to move into place. The game was on, and this time I was writing the rules. The restaurant buzzed with dinner conversation as I sat across from Alia, watching her dissect her overpriced salmon with surgical precision. She'd insisted on this mother-daughter dinner before the weekend getaway, probably to scope out my intentions. I must say, she dabbed her lips with her napkin, this invitation came as quite a surprise. You've always been so private about your affairs, I smiled, cutting into my steak. Well, as you always say, family should share everything. Her fork paused halfway to her mouth. Indeed, though I hope you understand our concern about Nigel lately. He seems troubled. Does he? I took a sip of wine. I hadn't noticed. Come now, Lucille. She reached across the table, her manicured hand stopping short of touching mine. We both know things haven't been quite right since that unfortunate business with the money. Unfortunate business? The wine turned bitter in my mouth. Is that what we're calling theft now? Alia's smile tightened. We preferred to think of it as family helping family. Surely you understand. What I understand, I cut in, is that my grandmother worked 60 years as a teacher to leave me that inheritance. But please, tell me more about how your Maldives vacation was family helping family. A couple at the next table glanced our way. Alia lowered her voice, leaning forward. Now, dear, let's not make a scene. We're all trying to move forward, aren't we? That's why you've invited us to this lovely holiday home? Exactly. I forced a smile. It's time everyone got what they deserve. My phone vibrated. A text from Rachel. Paperwork finalized. Keys transfer Thursday. Everything all right? Alia asked, noticing my expression. Perfect. I tucked the phone away. Just confirming the weekend arrangements. Later that evening, I found Nigel waiting up in the living room. How was dinner with Mom? Illuminating. I dropped my keys in the bowl. Your brother called, by the way. He's bringing Roberto. My nephew, Nigel frowned, but he hates family gatherings. Apparently, Tricia insisted, something about family bonding. Nigel stood, approaching me cautiously. Luce, are you sure about this weekend? We could still cancel. And disappoint your mother, I stepped around him. She's so looking forward to seeing our holiday home, unless there's some reason you don't want them to come. He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous tell I'd noticed years ago. No, it's just, you've been different lately. Distant. Have I? I met his eyes. Or am I just finally seeing things clearly? The next morning, Sandra ambushed me at my office during lunch. This has gone far enough, she announced, dropping into the chair across from my desk. I talked to Rachel. I set down my sandwich. You what? She told me the house sold yesterday above asking price. Sandra leaned forward. Lucille, what happens when they show up and find strangers living there? Justice happens. I started gathering papers, avoiding her gaze. Karma happens. No, humiliation happens. To everyone involved, including you. She grabbed my wrist, forcing me to look at her. Is that really what your grandmother would want? My grandmother would want me to stand up for myself. Stand up, yes, but this? She shook her head. This is something else entirely. My phone buzzed. A text from Tricia. Roberto's so excited about the weekend. Thank you for bringing the family together like this. Sandra saw the message. Even the kid? Really? He's 16, not 6. But something twisted in my stomach. Besides, he should learn early that actions have consequences. Like his aunt's actions? Sandra stood, gathering her purse. Just think about what you're really trying to accomplish here, and whether it's worth the cost. After she left, I stared at the family photo on my desk, taken last Christmas, before I knew the truth. Alia, in her expensive new jewellery, Bruce showing off his watch, Tricia fussing over Roberto, Nigel's arm around my waist. All of it paid for with my grandmother's money. My phone rang, Rachel again. The new owners want to move in Friday morning. Will that be a problem? I thought about Aaliyah's smug smile at dinner, about Nigel's nervous hands, about Roberto's excitement. No, I said firmly. No problem at all. That evening, I packed my overnight bag for the weekend, laying out the documents I'd need. Property sale papers, bank statements, proof of every transaction they'd tried to hide. Nigel appeared in the doorway. Need help packing? No. I zipped the bag closed. Everything's exactly where it needs to be. Tomorrow they'd all learn what it feels like to have something taken away. Tomorrow the scales would finally balance. I just hoped Sandra was wrong about the cost. The caravan of cars pulled into the holiday home's driveway just as the sun began to set. I watched through the kitchen window as Aaliyah emerged from her Mercedes, designer sunglasses perched on her head despite the fading light. "This location is divine," she called out, while Bruce helped Trisha unload their SUV. "Though I would have chosen something a bit more substantial." Roberto slouched out of the back seat, headphones firmly in place, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. At least someone was being honest about their feelings. "Mum, please," Nigel said, carrying their bags inside. "It's perfect for what we need." What they needed. The irony wasn't lost on me. "Lucille, darling," Trisha bustled in, pulling me into an unwanted hug. "This is so generous of you, bringing the family together like this." I extracted myself from her embrace. "Well, you know what they say about family and sharing." "Speaking of sharing," Bruce appeared, already heading for the wine fridge, "I hope you stocked up for the weekend." "Help yourself," I said, watching him select an expensive bottle. "It's what family does, right?" Aaliyah shot me a sharp look but said nothing. The evening progressed exactly as I'd expected. Bruce dominated the conversation with tales of his latest business ventures, while Trisha fussed over everyone's plates. Roberto remained glued to his phone, occasionally rolling his eyes at his parents' attempts to engage him. "Put that away," Bruce snapped at his son. "We're here for family time." "Whatever," Roberto muttered, but tucked the phone away. His eyes met mine across the table, and I saw a flash of understanding there that made me uncomfortable. After dinner, I escaped to the back deck, needing air. The sound of waves in the distance usually calmed me, but tonight they seemed to echo my turbulent thoughts. "Mom's driving me crazy," Nigel's voice came from behind me. "I'm sorry about all this." "Are you?" I turned to face him. "Sorry about what exactly?" He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I heard you and Mom at dinner the other night. At the restaurant. Eavesdropping now?" "The waiter told me you seemed upset." He ran his hands through his hair again. "Luce, I know I messed up, but they're still family." "Family?" I laughed quietly. "Is that what you told yourself when you were transferring my money to their accounts? That family makes it okay?" Inside, I could hear Aaliyah directing Bruce on where to put their bags. Still controlling everything, still acting like she owned the place. "Please," Nigel's voice cracked. "I'll do anything to make this right. I've been looking for better jobs, trying to figure out how to pay you back." "Mom," Roberto appeared in the doorway, interrupting Nigel's plea. "Dad's being a jerk again. Can I hang out here?" I nodded, grateful for the interruption. Roberto settled into one of the deck chairs, pulling out a sketchbook. "You draw?" I asked, noticing the detailed landscapes on the pages. "Yeah. Dad thinks it's a waste of time," he shrugged. "Says I should focus on business classes instead." "Like the business classes he took before losing all that money?" The words slipped out before I could stop them. Roberto's head snapped up, his eyes narrowing. "What do you mean?" Nigel stepped forward quickly. "Nothing. He means nothing by it." "No. What did you mean?" Roberto pressed, looking at me. "Is that why you guys suddenly had money for that stupid car Dad bought?" "Roberto," Nigel started, but was cut off by Bruce's booming voice from inside. "Son, get in here and help your mother unpack." Roberto slammed his sketchbook shut. "I'm not deaf," he shouted back, but stood to go inside. At the door, he paused. "Thanks for letting me hide out here." After he left, Nigel turned to me. "Please don't drag him into this." "Into what?" I asked innocently. "The family business of taking what isn't yours." Through the window, I could see Aaliyah arranging her things in the master bedroom, my bedroom. As if she owned the place. Tomorrow she'd learn just how temporary her claim to this space was. I hear them, you know, I said quietly. When they think I'm not listening. Your mother planning more trips, Bruce talking about expanding his business, all while my grandmother's money sits in their accounts. I'll talk to them again, Nigel promised. Make them understand. Understand what? That actions have consequences. I checked my phone, a message from Rachel confirming tomorrow's timeline. Don't worry, Nigel, they'll understand soon enough. Inside, I could hear Aaliyah calling everyone to the living room for coffee and dessert, playing the perfect hostess in a house that wouldn't be here tomorrow. Coming? Nigel asked, holding the door. I smiled, thinking of the documents in my overnight bag upstairs. Of course. We wouldn't want to miss family time. The night was young and tomorrow promised to be unforgettable. The doorbell rang at exactly 9 a.m. I'd been watching the clock, counting down the minutes, my hands wrapped around a coffee mug that had long gone cold. Who could that be? Aaliyah asked from her perch on the sofa where she'd been planning yet another family vacation on her iPad. I'll get it, I said, standing before Nigel could move. Rachel stood on the doorstep with the new owners, exactly as planned. Good morning, Lucille. We're here for the final walkthrough and key handover. The silence behind me was deafening. I'm sorry, Aaliyah's voice cut through the tension. Key handover? Yes. I turned to face the family, all frozen in various states of confusion. I sold the house. The new owners take possession today. Bruce was the first to recover. This is a joke, right? Like the joke of stealing my inheritance? I pulled the stack of bank statements from my bag. Or maybe like the joke of using my grandmother's money to fund your failed business ventures. Lucille. Nigel stepped forward, his face pale. What have you done? What have I done? I laughed, the sound sharp and cold. I've simply followed the family tradition of taking what isn't mine. Oh, wait, no, this house was actually mine to sell. Tricia clutched her coffee cup, looking between me and Nigel. I don't understand. We just got here. And now you're leaving. I turned to Rachel and the new owners. Please come in. Don't mind my soon-to-be ex-family. They were just packing. Ex-family? Aaliyah stood, her face flushed with anger. How dare you? After everything we've done for you. Everything you've done? I threw the bank statements onto the coffee table. You mean like spending my grandmother's life savings on your luxury vacations? Or helping Bruce buy his Mercedes? Please tell me more about everything you've done for me. Roberto picked up one of the statements, his eyes widening as he read. Dad, is this true? Is this where the money for your new car came from? Bruce snatched the paper from his hands. Stay out of this, Roberto. Why? I asked. Afraid he'll learn the family business too early? Stealing, lying, betraying trust? That's enough, Nigel shouted, making everyone jump. This is cruel, Lucille. Even for what we did, this is cruel. Cruel? I turned to him slowly. Was it cruel when you watched your mother spend my inheritance on first-class flights? Was it cruel when you helped Bruce hide his transfers? Or did cruelty only start mattering when you got caught? The new owners shifted uncomfortably by the door. Rachel cleared her throat. Perhaps we should come back. No need, I said firmly. The house needs to be vacated today. Those were the terms of sale. You can't do this, Aaliyah hissed, her perfect composure finally cracking. We'll fight this. With what? The money you stole from me? I smiled. Go ahead. I have all the documentation right here. Should we call the police? Discuss fraud charges? Tricia started crying, while Bruce cursed under his breath and began gathering their things. Roberto stood apart from them all, still holding one of the bank statements, his face a mask of disgust. I knew something was wrong, he said quietly. All those sudden gifts, the trips. I knew we couldn't afford it. Roberto, go pack your things, Bruce ordered. No. Roberto looked at his father. You're no better than the guys who scammed Grandpa out of his retirement. You're worse, because you did it to family. Aaliyah gasped. How dare you speak to your father that way? How dare you steal from Lucille? Roberto shot back. I watched as they all began to unravel. Trisha crying harder, Bruce and Roberto arguing, Aaliyah trying to maintain control of a situation long past controlling. Only Nigel remained silent, staring at the floor. "The movers will be here in an hour," I announced. "I suggest you all be gone by then." "Lucille," Nigel finally spoke, his voice barely a whisper. "Please, we can work this out." I looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time in weeks. The man I'd loved, who I'd trusted with everything, who had betrayed me so completely. "No," I said softly. "We really can't." As they gathered their belongings, amid tears and accusations and slammed doors, Roberto paused beside me. "I'm sorry," he said, "for what they did, for what we took from you." I touched his shoulder gently. "You didn't take anything, Roberto. Don't carry their guilt." He nodded, then followed his parents out the door. Rachel and the new owners began their walkthrough as the cars pulled away. I stood on the front porch, watching them disappear down the drive, feeling strangely empty. My phone buzzed. A message from Sandra. "Is it done?" I looked at the house that was no longer mine, at the family that was driving away, at the life I'd just blown apart. "Yes," I typed back. "It's done." But as I watched Nigel's car disappear around the bend, I wondered if anything was really finished at all. The cafe was nearly empty when Nigel found me 3 days later. I'd been expecting him. The dozens of missed calls and messages had made that inevitable. "You look terrible," I said as he slid into the booth across from me. The dark circles under his eyes matched the wrinkled state of his usually pristine shirt. "Mom's in the hospital," he said without preamble. "Anxiety attack. The doctors say stress triggered it." I stirred my coffee slowly. "Is that supposed to make me feel guilty?" "No." He rubbed his face. "I don't know. Everything's falling apart, Luce. Bruce's wife left him, took Roberto with her. Mum's a mess. And I..." He trailed off. "And you what?" I set my spoon down. "Finally have to face consequences." The waitress approached, but one look at our faces sent her retreating. "I never meant for any of this to happen," he said. "Mum was in trouble with her mortgage, and she was crying, and I thought I could fix it. Take a little money, pay it back before you noticed. But you didn't stop at a little, did you?" He shook his head. "Once they knew about the money, it was like a switch flipped. Every problem became an emergency. Every want became a need. And I was trapped. You could have told me." "Could I?" He leaned forward. "You're the successful one, the smart one. I was already the failure who couldn't match your salary. How could I admit I'd betrayed you too?" A laugh escaped me, bitter and sharp. "So you betrayed me more to avoid admitting you'd betrayed me?" "That's some logic, Nigel." "I know." His voice cracked. "I know it makes no sense, but I've lost everything now. You, the respect of my nephew, my family's trust. Even Mom won't look me in the eye anymore." Outside, rain began to fall, matching the mood. A text lit up my phone, Sandra asking if I was okay. I ignored it. "Roberto called me yesterday," I said, watching Nigel's reaction. "Did you know he's applying to art school?" Surprise flickered across his face. "What? But Bruce would never..." "Bruce doesn't get a say anymore. Trisha's supporting Roberto's choice." I took a sip of coffee. Funny how truth can set people free. Is that what this was about? Setting people free? No. I met his eyes. This was about justice, about consequences, about showing your family they can't just take what they want without paying a price. He was quiet for a long moment. "And what about us? What's the price for what we had?" "Had," I emphasized. Past tense. "Lucille, please." He reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "I'll do anything to make this right. I've been looking at jobs in other cities, places where we could start fresh." "Stop." I held up my hand. "Just stop. Do you really think I could ever trust you again? Sleep next to you, share a life with you, knowing what you did?" The rain grew heavier, drumming against the windows. A few tables away, an elderly couple shared a piece of pie, feeding each other bites and laughing softly. "I love you," he whispered. "Doesn't that count for anything?" Love without trust is just another way to get hurt. I stood, gathering my purse. Your mother will be fine. She's tougher than she lets on. Bruce will either learn from this or he won't. That's his choice. And you. I paused, looking at the man I'd once planned to grow old with. You need to figure out who you are without your family's expectations crushing you. And what about you? His voice was barely audible above the rain. Who are you without me? I smiled, thinking of my grandmother's strength, of Roberto's courage to choose his own path, of Sandra's unwavering friendship. I'm someone who finally understands that sometimes love isn't enough. That trust, once broken, leaves scars that no amount of apologies can heal. So that's it? He looked up at me, eyes glistening. 8 years together, just gone? No. I pulled out my wallet, leaving money for my coffee. 8 years gone the moment you chose your family's greed over our future. Today is just me finally accepting that truth. As I walked toward the door, he called out one last time. What do I tell them? The family? I turned back, rain framing the window behind me. Tell them thank you for teaching me that sometimes the people who hurt you most are the ones who claim to love you best. Outside, the rain soaked through my jacket, but I didn't rush to my car. Instead, I stood there, letting the water wash over me, feeling lighter than I had in months. My phone buzzed again. Sandra. Wine and pizza at my place tonight? This time I replied, yes, I think it's time to start new traditions. Behind me, through the cafe window, I could see Nigel with his head in his hands. But for the first time since this all began, I felt no urge to look back. Sandra's doorbell rang just as we were opening our second bottle of wine. Through the peephole, I saw Aaliyah standing there, perfectly coiffed, despite her recent hospital stay. Don't answer it, I whispered, but Sandra was already opening the door. We need to talk, Aaliyah announced, stepping inside uninvited. She looked smaller somehow, less intimidating without her usual entourage. Sandra glanced at me. I'll give you two some privacy. No, I said firmly. Whatever she has to say, she can say it in front of you. Aaliyah perched on the edge of an armchair, her designer purse clutched tight in her lap. The doctors say I should avoid stress, but I couldn't leave things like this. Like what? I took a deliberate sip of wine. Like the mess you made stealing my inheritance? Like family torn apart, she snapped, then caught herself smoothing her skirt. Nigel's devastated. Bruce's marriage is over. Even Roberto won't speak to us. Sounds like karma to me. Is that what you wanted? Her voice cracked. To destroy everything. Sandra shifted uncomfortably on the couch beside me, but I held my ground. No, Aaliyah. That's what you wanted when you took my money. I just made sure everyone saw the truth. The truth? She laughed bitterly. The truth is we were desperate. Bruce's business was failing. The bank was threatening foreclosure on my house. So you stole from me. I set my glass down hard. Instead of asking for help, instead of being honest, you all conspired to take what wasn't yours. We're family. Family doesn't steal from family. I was standing now, years of hurt pouring out. Family doesn't manipulate and lie and treat someone's inheritance like their personal piggy bank. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Roberto. I tracked Mum's phone, he said, stepping inside. Figured she'd come here. Aaliyah turned to him. Roberto, darling? Don't. He held up his hand. I'm not here for you. I came to thank Lucille. That stopped everyone short. Sandra quietly slipped into the kitchen, leaving us to our family drama. Thank me, I asked. For what? For showing me what real strength looks like. He pulled out a folded paper from his jacket. I got accepted to art school, full scholarship. Aaliyah gasped. But your father's business is built on lies, Roberto cut in. Just like everything else in this family, I'm done pretending. I watched Aaliyah's face crumple, years of careful control finally breaking. We were trying to protect our way of life. By stealing someone else's? Roberto shook his head. That's not protection, Grandma, that's theft. My phone buzzed. A text from Nigel. Mum's gone. Are you with her? He's worried about you, I told Aaliyah, showing her the message. He's always worried about me. She dabbed at her eyes with an expensive handkerchief. That's how we got here, isn't it? His need to fix everything, my need to maintain appearances. And my inheritance paid the price, I finished. Roberto sat on the arm of my chair. Mum's filing for divorce says she's tired of Dad's schemes. Good for her, I said, meaning it. Aaliyah stood suddenly. I should go. The doctors said. Sit down, I interrupted. We're not done. She sank back into the chair, looking older than I'd ever seen her. You want to fix this? I asked. Really fix it? She nodded slowly. Then start with the truth. All of it. No more manipulation. No more pretense. The truth! She glanced at Roberto, then back to me. The truth is, I was jealous. Of your success, your independence, everything came so easily to you. Easy? I laughed. I worked 2 jobs through college. My grandmother saved for 30 years to leave me that inheritance. Nothing about it was easy. I know that now. She twisted the handkerchief in her hands. I know we can never repay what we took, not just the money, but the trust. No, I agreed. You can't. Roberto stood. But we can do better going forward. Be better. Sandra reappeared with fresh glasses of wine and a knowing look. Family's complicated, she said, handing them out. But secrets make it toxic. Aaliyah took a small sip. What do we do now? Now? I looked at Roberto's acceptance letter, at Aaliyah's trembling hands, at the mess we'd all made. Now we start over. With truth this time. My phone buzzed again. Nigel sending another worried message about his mother. Tell him I'm safe, Aaliyah said quietly. Tell him. Tell him I'm finally learning what family really means. Outside, the sun was setting, casting long shadows across Sandra's living room. Nothing was fixed, not really. But as I watched Roberto show his grandmother his portfolio, saw her genuine interest in his art for the first time, I realized that sometimes breaking things is the only way to rebuild them stronger. To new beginnings, Sandra raised her glass. To truth, Roberto added. To family, Aaliyah whispered. I lifted my glass thinking of my grandmother's wisdom. To consequences. The autumn breeze rustled through my grandmother's garden as I knelt to plant the last of her favourite roses. Sandra worked beside me, carefully arranging mulch around the new bushes. She would have loved this, Sandra said, sitting back on her heels, using the house sale money to restore her garden. It felt right. I brushed dirt from my hands. Better than letting it sit in a bank account like the inheritance did. The sound of a car pulling up made us both turn. Roberto stepped out carrying his portfolio and wearing a paint-splattered t-shirt. Sorry I'm late, he called out. Class ran over. You're just in time for lunch, I replied, leading them both inside. The kitchen still smelled like my grandmother's recipes, though now my attempts at her famous lasagna filled the oven. Mom wanted me to give you this, Roberto said, pulling an envelope from his bag as we settled around the kitchen table. Inside was a check, not for the full amount they'd taken, but significant nonetheless. She's been selling her jewellery, he explained. Says she doesn't need the reminders of who she used to be. Sandra examined the check. That's got to be at least 20 pieces from her collection. 23? A voice said from the doorway. We all turned to see Aaliyah standing there, looking different in simple slacks and a sweater. May I come in? I nodded, watching as she took in the kitchen's transformation. The fresh paint, the new herbs growing in the window, the life returning to my grandmother's space. Bruce called, she said, accepting the coffee Sandra offered. He's agreed to sell the Mercedes. Says he wants to contribute to making things right. And Nigel? I asked quietly. Starting his new job next week, teaching high school economics. She smiled slightly. Says he wants to help young people understand money better than he did. Roberto opened his portfolio, spreading his latest works across the table. Vibrant paintings captured moments of our family drama. Aaliyah in the hospital, Bruce standing alone in an empty house, me in the garden bringing life back to dead earth. These are for my final project, he explained. The professor says art should tell truth, even when it hurts. Speaking of truth, Aaliyah reached into her purse. I found these while sorting through my things. She laid out old photographs. My grandmother at my college graduation, at family dinners, always watching, always wise. She knew, you know, I said, touching one photo gently, about the kind of people you all were. She told me to be careful, but I thought love would be enough. Love without respect is just control, Sandra murmured, quoting my grandmother's favourite saying. The timer dinged, and I pulled the lasagna from the oven. It wasn't perfect. The edges were a bit too brown, the cheese not quite melted right, but it was honest work, my own attempt at carrying forward a legacy. I've been thinking, Aaliyah said as I served the plates, about what your grandmother taught you about money, about worth. I spent so long trying to appear valuable that I forgot how to actually be valuable. That's why you took the inheritance, Roberto asked. She nodded slowly. It was never really about the money. It was about what it represented. Success, security, respect. All the things I thought I could buy. But you can't, I said. Those things have to be earned. Like trust? She met my eyes. Like trust, I agreed. Sandra raised her glass. To earning things honestly. To Grandma's garden, Roberto added. To new growth, Aaliyah whispered. I looked around the table, at Sandra's unwavering friendship, at Roberto's brave new path, at Aaliyah's humble attempts at redemption. The inheritance was gone, but something else had grown in its place. Understanding, perhaps. Or wisdom. My phone lit up with a text from Nigel. The divorce papers are final. Thank you for teaching me about consequences. I showed the message to Sandra, who squeezed my hand. You okay? Yeah, I said, realizing I meant it. Some things have to break before they can heal properly. Roberto looked up from his plate. Like bones. Like trust, Aaliyah answered softly. Like family. Outside, the roses caught the afternoon light, their new blooms promising future gardens, future growth. My grandmother had always said that money was like water. It could nourish growth or drown you depending on how you used it. I have something else for you, Aaliyah said, pulling out another envelope. Your grandmother's recipes. I found them in Nigel's things. They belong here with you. I opened the envelope, recognizing the familiar handwriting. At the bottom of each recipe, my grandmother had written little notes, wisdom disguised as cooking tips. Remember, I read aloud from the lasagna recipe, the secret ingredient isn't in the sauce. It's in the love you put into making it right. Sandra laughed. She always did have a way of making everything a life lesson. She still does, I said, looking around at my imperfect healing family. She still does.
In a room where the only sound was the methodical ticking of an ancient clock hanging on the wall, an air of uneasy quiet lingered. Sitting opposite me was John, my husband of nearly 3 decades, his attention firmly fixed on the television, seemingly oblivious to my existence. Engulfed in my own thoughts, I felt the heavy burden of countless grievances and pent-up frustration that had accumulated over the years, reaching a boiling point. Have you finished moving? John's voice, dripping with his typical disdain, cut through the silence. Without giving him the satisfaction of eye contact, I responded with a steadiness in my voice that belied the tumultuous storm brewing within me. I'm leaving, John. His scoff was predictable. Oh, really? And where do you think you'll go, Stella? You can't make it on your own without me. His words were meant to wound, but instead they ignited a stronger determination within me. For too long, I had tolerated his indifference and his mother's relentless interference. It was time to take back control of my life. I'll figure it out, I asserted, rising to my feet, feeling a surge of empowerment despite the daunting uncertainty that lay before me. His mother, who had taken up residence with us over the past year, entered the room, her eyes narrowing at the sight of my packed bags. Running away, are we? She mocked, convinced of my inability to stand up to the challenges of their family dynamics. Ignoring her taunts, I seized my bags and made my way to the door. John remained seated, passively declaring, "You'll be back. You need us." Crossing the threshold of the house, a wave of liberation washed over me. The cool evening air caressed my face, offering relief to my once stifled spirit. Unsure of my destination, for the first time in years, I was touched by a flicker of hope. For 28 years, I had fulfilled the role of the compliant wife to John, a man who regarded me more as a convenience than a partner. Our son Elias was the sole beacon of joy in my life, yet even he could not bridge the expanding chasm in my heart. The presence of John's mother, with her endless critiques and manipulation, only exacerbated the toxic atmosphere of our home. I found solace in a modest yet serene apartment that became my haven. It was a place for me to breathe freely and contemplate without being subjected to judgment. In the days that followed, I chose to ignore the flurry of calls and messages from John and his mother, which oscillated between entreaties and threats. My resolve was unwavering. I had closed my ears to their pleas. My colleagues at the library, where I had been employed for years, stood by me. They had observed the gradual dimming of my spirit over time and now bore witness to my resurgence. In that quiet, supportive environment, amidst books and understanding friends, I began to rediscover myself and nurture a newfound hope for the future. As I was adjusting to my new lifestyle, a call from my son Elias interrupted the silence. His voice carried a weight of worry as he asked, "Mom, are you all right?" I responded with a calmness I hadn't felt in years. "Yes, Elias. I'm doing better than I've ever done." His next words revealed a family in distress. My decision hadn't sat well with them. My husband had resorted to drinking, and my mother-in-law couldn't stop accusing me of abandonment. The guilt tried to creep in, but I brushed it aside, knowing they had to learn to respect my choices. Elias paused before admitting he was happy to see me prioritizing my well-being, offering his support whenever I needed it. Ending the call, I was struck by the realization that this was merely the start of proving myself to John and his mother, who had long underestimated me. It was time they understood I was no longer the compliant woman they presumed to control. My path of self-discovery and asserting my independence was just beginning. In the quiet of my modest new home, I pondered over the 28 years spent with John. What began as a hopeful union gradually deteriorated, revealing a marriage far from what it could have been. Initially, John's charm and our shared dreams made everything seem perfect. However, as time passed, his attention shifted more towards his needs, neglecting the family. The birth of Elias, rather than uniting us, only magnified our growing apart. John believed providing financially was enough, leaving the emotional support to me. Ariana, John's mother, was always a shadow in our lives, her constant criticism of my parenting wearing me down. "You're spoiling him," she would say, claiming John never needed such pampering. Despite her remarks, I dedicated myself to raising Elias, who grew into a considerate and self-reliant man, a beacon of light amidst our home's growing tension. The final straw came when Ariana moved in without my consent, claiming loneliness. Her presence was overbearing, critiquing everything from my culinary skills to my choice of clothing, implying John could have chosen a better partner. This new chapter in my life was about breaking free from years of control and rediscovery, a journey I was only just embarking on. Frequently, Ariana's criticisms would reach my ears, but what truly shattered my resolve was uncovering John's deceit. I accidentally came across bank statements one day, which laid bare significant sums being drawn from our shared account. This money was squandered on Ariana's gambling addiction and John's covert pleasures. Any attempt to address these issues led to intense disputes, with John invariably taking his mother's side. "She's my mother, Stella. She needs this," he would claim, brushing aside my apprehensions. The tipping point arrived when I accidentally overheard them scheming to seize complete control over our finances, aiming to demote me to a mere bystander in my own home. It was then I realized I could no longer tolerate living under their dominance. On the day I decided to leave, I vowed to make them realize the agony they had inflicted. My strategy was straightforward but potent, to dent their egos and their wallets. I began by legally dissociating our financial ties, a move that astounded John. "What are you thinking?" he demanded over the phone. "I'm safeguarding myself. Something long overdue, I responded, my tone serene yet resolved. Ariana's reaction was even more exaggerated. You ingrate after all we've done for you. She shrieked upon discovering. Yet I remained undeterred. The era of my subservience had ended. I was now setting my own rules, marking the start of their retribution. The initial phase following my financial liberation was chaotic. John and Ariana, outraged, revealed their true selves through their fury. Their attempts to intimidate me through endless, increasingly hostile phone calls were futile. You think you're clever, Stella? John sneered in one conversation. You're nothing without me. You'll beg to return. I won't, John. I refuse to be manipulated any longer, I retorted, my resolve reinforcing my stance. Ariana's threats were more venomous. You'll regret this, Stella. You've destroyed our family. There was no family to destroy, Ariana. It was all a facade, I countered. Despite their intimidation, I felt an overwhelming sense of freedom. The dread that once governed me had vanished, supplanted by a firm determination for justice. It was time for them to face the consequences of their actions. I began my journey of vindication by connecting with old friends and acquaintances, openly sharing the saga of deceit and manipulation orchestrated by John and Ariana. My candid revelations quickly disseminated, casting a shadow over their previously unblemished reputations. John, who had always held his social status in high regard, was mortified. How could you expose me like this? He confronted me, disbelief in his tone. You exposed yourself, I responded with a composed demeanor. I'm merely bringing the truth to light. Ariana, too, found herself ensnared by the disapproval of the community. You've made us pariahs, she accused, seeing it as an act of war. But the fear she once instilled in me had evaporated. No, Ariana, this is not war, it's accountability, I countered. Watching their social circles crumble was a testament to the efficacy of truth. John's allies withdrew, cautious of his now blemished reputation, while Ariana's influence waned as her gambling addiction and manipulative tactics became public knowledge. Yet my pursuit of justice didn't end with tarnishing their social image. I recognized their financial vulnerabilities as their Achilles heel. Through diligent legal counsel, I initiated a claim for my rightful portion of our joint assets, ensuring Ariana's gambling liabilities and John's financial mismanagement were thoroughly scrutinized. The courtroom battles were arduous, yet my resolve never wavered. Their fabrications and defamations were effortlessly dismantled by the solid foundation of truth, culminating in a legal triumph that favored me significantly. As the judge's decision was announced, the defeat in John and Ariana's eyes was palpable. This victory transcended mere financial gains. It was a declaration of moral superiority. You've ruined us, Stella, John lamented, a mere shadow of his once pompous self. No, John, you dismantled our family long before. I'm merely salvaging what's left, I retorted, exiting the courtroom feeling liberated for the first time in years. The anticipation of a future unchained from the shadows of my past filled me with hope. In the aftermath of the court's verdict, I embarked on the task of reconstructing my life with the assets rightfully mine, stepping out from under John and Ariana's dark cloud. Their responses oscillated between shock and denial, unable to fathom the magnitude of their downfall. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in my life, one of autonomy and self-discovery, ready to embrace the unknown with open arms. The disintegration of John and Ariana's facade was merely the initial stride towards reclaiming my identity and pursuing a life of genuine happiness and freedom. In an outburst of desperation, John voiced his indignation over the phone one evening. You can't simply overturn our lives, Stella, he protested, his tone rife with desperation. I'm merely reclaiming what rightfully belongs to me, I asserted, unyielding. Perhaps you should have considered the repercussions of your actions before betraying my trust. Ariana, on the other hand, resorted to more surreptitious tactics. She attempted to turn family members against me, casting herself as the aggrieved party. However, her efforts were in vain. Stella, you're ripping our family apart, she charged when we unexpectedly crossed paths at the grocery store. This family was fragmented long before I made my departure, I responded, denying her the gratification of witnessing any distress on my part. Embracing my newfound autonomy, I relished in the liberty of dictating my own life. I severed their direct access to me by changing my phone number and found solace in dedicating my time to a local shelter, aiding those who had encountered similar tribulations. Yet my pursuit of justice was far from concluded. I discovered Ariana's intentions to challenge the court's verdict, clinging to the futile hope of recovering funds for her gambling dependencies. "You won't succeed, Stella. I'll ensure your downfall," she menaced through a message conveyed by a relative. In defiance, I bolstered my legal defenses, ready to rebut any challenge she dared to present. The person who once avoided confrontation had evolved into a resolute champion of her own rights. John, meanwhile, was succumbing to the mounting pressure. His once unblemished reputation now lay in ruins, adversely affecting his career. The allies and connections he once prized were now retracting, hesitant to align themselves with a figure ensnared in scandal. "You've obliterated my existence, Stella," he confessed in a moment of introspection. "You've orchestrated your own demise, John." "My actions have merely unveiled the reality," I retorted. As days melded into months, I observed the unraveling of their ostensibly secure lives. Ariana's bid to overturn the court's judgment floundered, leaving her both financially and socially destitute. John's professional life persisted in its decline, his standing irreversibly compromised. Yet witnessing their decline evoked no sense of triumph within me. Their downfall, though a vital phase in my journey of self-reclamation, was not a source of satisfaction. The path I had embarked upon was about healing and rediscovery, far beyond the confines of their retribution. Regaining my independence and self-respect was a monumental step, yet the scars of neglect and emotional torment were still healing. As I navigated the path of rebuilding my life, my primary goal was to cultivate inner peace and happiness. The journey I embarked on was transformative, leading me out of the darkness that had enveloped my past. I had become stronger, more resilient. My narrative wasn't about seeking vengeance, but about liberation, a celebration of the human spirit's capacity to overcome hardship. Months had passed since the court had ruled in my favor, yet the impact of those events continued to resonate. John and Ariana, now distanced from their social circles, were mere shadows of who they once were. During an unanticipated visit, Elias, my son, brought distressing news. His demeanor was weighed down with concern as he relayed the grim state of his father and grandmother. "Dad's been fired, and his drinking has worsened. Grandma has gambled away everything. They're selling the house," he shared, the weight of his words heavy in the air. My heart went out to Elias. Despite the distance, the ties of family pulled at my emotions. "Did we push too hard?" Elias wondered aloud, his voice a mere whisper. In response, I assured him, albeit with a heavy heart, that we had stood on the side of justice. They had chosen their paths. The downfall of John and Ariana wasn't a source of satisfaction for me. Rather, it served as a somber lesson on the importance of living a life marked by integrity and respect for others. In the weeks that followed, whispers and rumors about the sale of John and Ariana's house circulated, marking the culmination of their decline. Attempts by John to secure employment were thwarted by his tarnished reputation, while Ariana found herself ostracized, her addiction no longer a secret. On an evening walk, I encountered John, a man who had lost much of his former self. We faced each other in silence, a stark reflection of the distance and transformation that had occurred. "There's nothing to say," he finally broke the silence, his voice laced with defeat. This encounter, though brief, was poignant. It underscored the profound shifts in our lives, the consequences of choices made, and the paths diverged. My journey was not one of retribution, but of forging a new beginning, grounded in self-respect and the pursuit of genuine contentment. Cutting him off, I made it clear you chose your own path. He acknowledged this with a slow nod, a look of resignation in his eyes. "I never imagined things would end up this way," he whispered. As I walked away from John, a sense of finality enveloped me. The man who had once exerted such control over my life had become merely a stranger marked by his own downfall. Ariana, too, disappeared into the background, her vibrant presence now dimmed by the weight of her choices. This marked the end of a tumultuous chapter with John and Ariana, leading me to a profound realization: my fight was not for revenge, but for reclaiming my life and peace. Standing up to those who had oppressed me was a matter of justice and self-respect, not retribution. This ordeal underscored the significance of resilience and the necessity of advocating for oneself. As I embarked on building anew, I did so empowered, with a heart open to the future. A year had passed since the upheaval began, and my journey of self-reinvention progressed, each day uncovering new strengths and insights. The collapse of John and Ariana's world was not my ultimate goal, but an incidental result of my quest for dignity and fairness. On a bright autumn afternoon, as I sat in the comfort of my living room bathed in sunlight, I pondered the transformations in my life. My reflections were interrupted by a call from Elias, his voice alive with excitement. "Mom, Lila and I are getting married, and we want you to help us plan it," he announced. Joy overwhelmed me. "That's fantastic news, Elias." "I'd be delighted to help," I responded. Our conversation, filled with laughter and plans, was a vivid departure from the sorrow-laden discussions of the past. A few days later, during my regular walk, I crossed paths with Ariana. She appeared reduced, a shadow of her former self. Our eyes met, and I detected a hint of regret, perhaps a moment of realization in her gaze. "Stella," she began, her voice trembling. I must admit, I was caught off guard by the unexpected apology coming in so late. It was in that moment, standing there with Ariana left by herself, that I truly understood the change within me. Gone were the feelings of anger and the desire for revenge. Instead, I found myself looking forward to the joyous wedding preparations with Elias and Lila. Being engulfed in such love and hope, I fully embraced the essence of moving forward. The wedding day was nothing short of magical, a celebration brimming with laughter and happy tears. Watching Elias and Lila so deeply in love filled me with a profound sense of achievement. We had weathered the storms and come out stronger. In my toast, I spoke of how life's challenges shape us, and today, we were gathered to honor love, resilience, and new beginnings. As the night wound down, I took in the joyous expressions around me, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. I had not just made it through, I had flourished. In time, John and Ariana became mere echoes of the past. Rumors reached me of their departure, each grappling with their own struggles. My life, once overshadowed, was now truly my own. I found satisfaction in my career, happiness in being a mother and a friend, and solace in my moments of solitude. Sitting in my garden one sunny day, watching the flowers bloom, I felt the full weight of freedom. My path had been strewn with hurdles, yet it led me to a place of contentment and inner strength. The end of my marriage marked not an end, but the start of a new chapter. In this chapter, I was in control, crafting my own narrative. It was here that I discovered true happiness, peace, and a sense of self that was unassailable. The idea of entrusting our newborn daughter to my sister-in-law every day sparked an unexpected call from my husband, Carson, during his workday. It was unlike him to sound so frustrated. He's usually calm and composed. I was caught off guard by his reaction and rushed to explain, aiming to dissolve the confusion swiftly. "Our daughter, Luna, is right here at home, sleeping peacefully," I assured him, puzzled by his surprise and the series of questions that followed. It was clear we were both lost in this unexpected mystery. Determined to uncover the truth, I decided it was time to have a talk with my sister-in-law. "My name is Aurora, and I've been married to Carson for 4 years. He's just a year my senior, and recently we've been blessed with Luna, our first child. Luna is absolutely enchanting, but navigating motherhood for the first time has its challenges. Since my parents are far away, going back to my childhood home for support after childbirth wasn't an option. From the moment we left the hospital, it's been mostly just me during the day, handling everything on my own. Kirsten has been an incredible support. His attention and care for Luna, even after long days at work, have been my saving grace. No matter the sleepless nights or Luna's restlessness, he's there, never uttering a complaint. His patience and gentle nature have made this journey manageable and much less stressful. I couldn't be more thankful for his support. So, his sudden outburst over the phone took me by surprise. "Aurora, I just heard from Mom and I need to know what's happening," he demanded, his tone laced with confusion and frustration. "Your mom? What are you talking about?" I was bewildered by his mention of leaving our newborn with Liliana every day. Liliana, Carson's sister, lived a short walk away with their parents. Working from home, she was able to look after their mother, who had a bad back. But why would she be taking care of Luna without my knowledge? Pearson's concern grew. "How can you think it's okay to leave our 2-week-old baby with someone? Especially when Liliana has never cared for a baby before. I'm worried, Aurora." His words only added to the confusion and concern. It was clear there had been a huge misunderstanding. I knew then that it was crucial to speak with Liliana and get to the bottom of this mix-up. Feeling tired after having a baby is natural, but I was puzzled when you mentioned leaving our little one with Liliana without talking to me first. Your words caught me off guard, creating a sense of urgency I couldn't ignore. Confused, I responded, "I'm lost here. Why is Liliana taking care of a newborn, and why did your mom feel the need to call you? Why should I have to check in with you on this?" Your concerns baffled me. "You mean you've been leaving our daughter with Liliana for nearly 2 weeks?" you asked. It turned out Liliana had kept quiet, not wanting to strain her bond with us, but your mom couldn't watch silently and reached out to you. I was taken aback by your story, especially since our daughter was safely at home with me. I had many questions but knew it was crucial to address the confusion right away. "Our daughter's asleep in her crib, right here with me," I clarified. Your surprised reaction only deepened our mutual bewilderment. "I'm just as confused as you are. We've barely left home except for doctor's visits. I haven't visited your family's place or seen Liliana since she dropped by after the baby was born. Then whose child is Liliana caring for?" You wondered aloud. The mystery deepened as we pondered why Liliana would claim to be looking after our daughter. Each question led to another, leaving us scratching our heads. As our lunch break ended, indicated by the phone's chime, I made up my mind to get to the bottom of this. I'll talk to Liliana and see why she'd say this. If she's mixed up and thinks she's taking care of our Luna, we need to sort it out, I decided. Planning to call your mom as well. You hesitated, then apologized for the misunderstanding, admitting your concern for Luna. It's fine. You were worried about Luna, which is understandable. And when I told you she's safe with me, you trusted me, I reassured you. After hanging up, I promptly called Liliana. "Hey, Liliana, it's been some time. Can we talk? There's something important I need to ask you." "Aurora, I've got something to say as well. You see, Liliana and I are pretty much the same age. Since the days I started dating Carson, Liliana and I hit it off immediately. We'd often hang out together, which is why it struck me as odd that she hadn't said a word about this entire mix-up. It puzzled me why she'd make up such a story. Just when I was about to delve deeper, I had a chat with Carson. "Liliana, why on earth did you think you were looking after Luna?" "I've never left her with anyone," I questioned, confused. Liliana sounded just as surprised, and right then, I could hear the sound of a baby crying over the phone. It was clear Liliana was indeed taking care of a baby. From her sincere tone, I sensed Liliana wasn't deceiving me. She genuinely believed she was helping with Luna. "To clear the air," I explained. "Luna's here with me, sleeping peacefully. I'm as puzzled as you are about this whole baby situation. How did you end up with a baby, and why did you think it was Luna?" Liliana's next words were even more baffling. "Last week, your dad came by and left a baby with me, claiming you were overwhelmed and needed support with Luna," she revealed, referencing my father-in-law. I was floored by this revelation and couldn't hide my shock. "What? I exclaimed. Liliana then shared her fears. I was terrified. I've never looked after a baby before. I thought about calling you, but your dad warned me it would only upset you and accused me of not caring about my sister-in-law's well-being. I've been trying to juggle this with my job too. It dawned on me that the entire scenario stemmed from a lie concocted by my father-in-law, yet it was still a mystery who the baby in Liliana's care was. I considered clarifying this mess with him directly, so I asked Liliana if he was around. He's not here right now. He usually returns late, picks up the baby claiming he's taking her back to you, and leaves again, only to return after 30 to 40 minutes, she explained. Angered by my father-in-law's deceit involving me and my daughter, I knew it was time for a direct confrontation. Understood. I'll need to discuss this with Carson, and we might just pay a visit tonight, I concluded, preparing to unravel this mystery once and for all. After ending the call, I promptly emailed my husband, sharing the bewildering tale unfolded by his sister. I believe we should talk to Dad directly about this, he suggested in response. So, when Carson arrived home, we made our way to my in-laws with Carson relaying his own conversation with his mom along the journey. His mom was equally shocked, having been under the impression that the baby at their house was her granddaughter, a revelation that took us all by surprise. Carson lamented that Luna's first introduction to the family was marred by such chaos. His mom, hindered by a bad back, hadn't yet met Luna, and we had hoped for a more joyful introduction once she was ready for visits. Upon reaching my in-laws, the atmosphere was one of confusion, with my mother-in-law and Liliana visibly perplexed. Liliana broke the silence, voicing her concern that their father hadn't returned with the baby they were caring for. Amidst the awkwardness, I introduced our daughter, Luna, to her grandmother. The tension eased slightly as my mother-in-law admired Luna, remarking on her resemblance to Carson as a baby and expressing her happiness at finally meeting her. She empathized with our frustration over the mix-up, apologizing for the mess. Liliana, equally perplexed, questioned the identity of the child she had been tending to, criticizing her father for the unnecessary confusion and the strain it put on her, believing she was caring for Luna. Trying to diffuse the frustration, Carson pointed out that Liliana should have realized the baby wasn't Luna. Liliana defended herself, suggesting that all babies look alike to her and that she had doubted the baby's identity, but thought perhaps babies' appearances changed quickly over time. The tension escalated when their father-in-law returned, surprised to find us there. His panicked reaction betrayed the fact that he was the architect of this entire farce. The room filled with a silent agreement among us, our stern gazes turning towards him, demanding an explanation. Overwhelmed by the collective scrutiny, he began to fumble for words, unable to justify his actions. "Oh, Aurora, it's been ages! What brings you here today? Did you forget something at our place?" Liliana, appearing somewhat confused by her father's facade, was criticized by him for not checking for any forgotten items. I was seething with anger at our father-in-law for concocting lies using my and my daughter's names and then attempting to pass the blame onto Liliana. Holding my daughter closer, I noticed Carson and Liliana were equally incensed, their hands balled into fists, signaling their frustration. I couldn't hold back. "Dad, are you really going to pretend like nothing's wrong? This seems beneath even you." His puzzled look at my raised voice signaled he wasn't prepared for our confrontation. Carson and Liliana wasted no time in pressing him for answers. "Dad, why did you lie about Aurora leaving Luna here? Why involve us in this charade with a baby that isn't even related to us?" Liliana added. "You had me taking care of a child I didn't even know, under the impression it was my niece. I can't believe you'd do this. It's affected my work greatly." Cornered by our collective interrogation, our father-in-law struggled to find a response. Amidst this tense confrontation, my mother-in-law's reaction was notably different. She looked as if she'd seen a ghost, murmuring, "No, you couldn't possibly still be involved with her." Her words left us dumbfounded, and our father-in-law started sweating profusely, playing dumb in the face of these new revelations. Carson's patience had reached its limit. "Dad, enough is enough. Stop pretending you're innocent. It's clear you've been lying through your teeth. Just come clean. Even as Carson tried to maintain his composure, his anger was palpable. Dad, you've exploited Aurora and Luna with your lies, and you owe Liliana a massive apology. Taking care of a newborn is no small feat, especially for someone like Liliana, who's never cared for a child. The stress you've caused her is unforgivable. Despite our father-in-law's attempts to deflect, Carson relentlessly pursued the truth, making it clear that no amount of excuses could justify the deception and turmoil he had caused. My husband, relentless in his pursuit for the truth, finally cornered our father-in-law into a confession that left us all speechless. "That child is mine," he admitted quietly, his words like a bombshell that halted everything around us. Carson's initial reaction was disbelief, his face frozen in shock, while Liliana and I were similarly struck mute by the revelation. It was my mother-in-law who shattered the ensuing silence. Her voice quivered with emotion, tears pooling in her eyes as she confronted her husband. "I knew it. You're still seeing her. I was a fool to believe your lies and forgive you years ago." Confusion spread across Carson's face. "What are you talking about?" he asked, prompting an even graver admission. Our father-in-law's complexion drained further as my mother-in-law divulged the painful truth of his past affair, a secret kept during the time of our wedding, roughly 4 years ago. She revealed how she had forgiven him after his promises of fidelity, a decision she now regretted amidst the current turmoil. The realization that Luna was mistaken for Carson's sister because of the familial resemblance hit us all hard. My mother-in-law's sorrow escalated into tears, her grief resonating with me, fueling a growing anger towards our father-in-law. Regaining his composure, Carson confronted our father-in-law with palpable outrage. "Dad, you've done the unthinkable. Not only did you deceive us, but you also betrayed Mom for the second time. How could you?" His voice echoed the disbelief and anger we all felt. Liliana's reaction was one of horror and disgust. "What do you mean, my child? You had a child with another woman and left that child with me, treating me like a nanny? This is unfathomable. I can't even look at you right now," she exclaimed, her voice tinged with revulsion. Despite the vehement reproach from his children, our father-in-law responded with a dismissive chuckle, attempting to downplay the gravity of his actions. "Calm down. What's done is done. The mother didn't want a relationship or money. She just needed someone to care for the child while she worked," he tried to explain, trivializing the situation. At this point, I couldn't contain my outrage any longer. "Enough. Your actions are indefensible. Bringing a life into this world isn't something to laugh off or dismiss. Do you even grasp the seriousness of your actions? At your age, to behave this irresponsibly." My words were a mixture of disbelief and anger towards a man who failed to understand the magnitude of his actions, a man who thought he could simply laugh away the consequences of his betrayal and deceit. In an unexpected moment, my father-in-law lost his balance and fell down, but no one came forward to assist him. Instead, the atmosphere turned tense as Liliana began to express her deep frustration, saying, "You've let us down too many times. We can't accept you as part of our family anymore. I can't bear to be around you, and I don't want to see you again." Despite the harsh words thrown at him, my father-in-law attempted to dismiss their impact, urging everyone not to speak so harshly. Witnessing this, I found myself unable to contain my disappointment and looked at him with a mix of disbelief and anger. "I can't continue pretending everything is fine. It's over between us," I declared. My father-in-law, trying to smile through the tension, suddenly seemed older as his face showed the weight of the situation. "You forgave me before," he reminded, but the atmosphere had shifted. He tried to justify his actions by suggesting that his mistakes, meant to relieve stress, somehow benefited the household's peace. However, his argument fell on unsympathetic ears as he desperately appealed to my mother-in-law, fearing the loss of the life they built together. "You won't really leave me, will you? We've spent decades together," he pleaded. But his words only highlighted the gap between them. My mother-in-law firmly rejected his plea, tired of his excuses and the pain caused by his betrayal. "Enough is enough," she said, ready to end their marriage, showing him the reality of his actions and the collective decision to move forward without him. "Why don't you just stay with her?" I asked, disbelief coloring my tone. "Wait, we can figure this out," he pleaded, attempting to downplay his actions as a mere mistake, insisting that his heart belonged only to his wife. Despite his appeals, the air was thick with betrayal, and my sister-in-law's frustration boiled over. "We're wasting our breath here." "This discussion is pointless," she declared, her decision final. The plan was clear: they would leave, taking their mother with them, and my father-in-law was to keep his distance. "I don't ever want to see you again." "Leave now," Liliana commanded, her voice firm. Despite the clear directive, my father-in-law remained rooted to the spot, leading to Carson stepping in to enforce the decision physically. "Please, just one more chance," my father-in-law begged. But his pleas fell on deaf ears as they turned away from him, leaving him alone with his regrets. As Liliana had foreseen, life quickly spiraled downwards for my father-in-law. Struggling with daily tasks and living in a neglected home, he sought help from his mistress, only to find the door closed in his face. She had no intention of marrying him, and with her own responsibilities and no financial support, she demanded alimony, dragging my father-in-law into legal battles over financial support. In the meantime, my sister-in-law and mother-in-law settled into an apartment close by. As weeks turned into a month since the upheaval, my visits became more frequent, bringing Luna along. My bond with Liliana remained unchanged, a testament to the strength of our relationship. My connection with my mother-in-law was also strong, and I looked forward to building a future together, supported by my husband's sister-in-law and mother-in-law, focused on providing a loving environment for my daughter. One day, while I was at the hospital where my husband Matteo works as a nurse, I bumped into Bella, a friend I had made through our children's friendship at the local park. Bella, always vibrant and direct, greeted me with a mix of surprise and confusion. "What are you doing here? This place isn't for you. If you're looking for a job, you're out of luck. Better head back home," she blurted out, leaving me stunned. Her words seemed to hang in the air, causing a brief moment of silence among the nearby doctors, all unsure how to react. I stood there, bewildered, questioning how Bella could say such a thing and worried about the potential fallout from her blunt statement. Despite her usually bold demeanor, it appeared Bella hadn't realized that her words might have crossed a line with me. Yet I couldn't let her comment slide without a response. With a mixture of disbelief and a need to assert myself, I replied, "Bella, you're quite bold, aren't you? Or maybe just unaware?" She looked at me, puzzled, and said, "Huh? What are you talking about?" Let me introduce myself properly. My name is Anna. I'm 29 years old, happily married to Matteo, and a proud mother of 2 wonderful kids, a lively 7-year-old daughter and a playful 1-year-old son. Matteo, who is 3 years younger than me, dedicates his days to caring for patients at the hospital. After having our second child, I've been enjoying maternity leave, cherishing this time with our family. Our living situation improved significantly when we moved from a cramped apartment to a second-hand house we bought with a loan. This old but charming house, with its spacious garden and soothing rooftop view, has become our little sanctuary. It's a place where our children can freely play, and we've grown to love its historical feel. Close by, there's a park that has become our weekend paradise, where our kids can play and explore to their heart's content. It was at this park that I met Bella. Our daughters, being the same age, quickly became friends, which led to Bella and I striking up a friendship. She stood out with her designer outfits, and upon learning she was a surgeon at the local hospital, the same one where Matteo works, I was intrigued. We were excited about this connection and invited her over to get to know each other better. However, Bella's visit to our home didn't go as expected. From the moment she stepped in, her behavior was unexpectedly judgmental, examining our furnishings and questioning whether our home was an ancestral heirloom. We were taken aback by her forthrightness, but tried to remain hospitable. The conversation eventually turned to work, and when Mateo shared that he was a nurse in the emergency department, Bella seemed taken aback, not realizing that he wasn't a doctor. Mateo explained his situation with humility, mentioning his plans to retake the medical licensing exam the following year. This encounter at the hospital and Bella's visit to our home highlighted the complexities of our newfound friendship. Despite the awkward moments, these experiences shed light on our different perspectives and backgrounds, ultimately enriching the tapestry of our lives. Bella's reaction to our life choices was filled with skepticism and a hint of judgment. Her surprise was evident when she learned about Mateo's path from medical school to nursing. Her words tinged with an implication that perhaps our financial decisions were driven by necessity rather than choice. It's not often you hear of someone completing medical school but not immediately passing their licensing exam, she mused aloud. Her questions about our ability to support our family and manage our finances, including the mortgage on our older second-hand home, felt intrusive and left us feeling exposed. Despite the sting of her words, we could only respond with forced smiles, unsure how to navigate the conversation. After Bella left, I apologized to Mateo for the discomfort she had caused. I'm really sorry if Bella made you feel uneasy. Maybe it's better if I keep my distance from her, I suggested. Mateo, ever supportive, simply offered a reassuring smile and reminded me that while Bella's personality was certainly unique, it wasn't worth our worry. This experience led me to the decision that, while connecting with other moms in the neighborhood was valuable, becoming too entangled with Bella might not be in our best interest. Life moved forward and we welcomed our second son into the world. As we celebrated his first milestones, I began to contemplate returning to work. With the support of Mateo's parents, who lived nearby and helped with the children, the idea seemed more feasible. Then, on a day I had matters to attend to at the hospital, I found myself crossing paths with Bella once again. Her greeting was laced with the same sarcastic undertone I had come to expect. Are you here to see Mateo? Or maybe for a job interview? It must be tough on just his income, she said, smirking. Her probing continued even as I tried to keep the conversation light. When she inquired about where I might be working part-time within the hospital's various shops, I excused myself, citing an upcoming appointment, and quickly departed. My actual destination was far from what Bella might have imagined. I was heading to the director's office for a significant job consultation. After a productive discussion, I made my way to the university's large auditorium for an important announcement from the director, an event that had gathered all the hospital staff. Running into Mateo, we made lunch plans, looking forward to enjoying some time together, a rare treat given our busy schedules. As we walked towards the auditorium, I had the chance to catch up with some of my former colleagues. The warmth and congratulations on our new family addition were heartening, and their comments about my absence reminded me of the impact I had made. Yet, the pleasant atmosphere shifted when Bella reappeared, questioning my presence and whether I was heading to the auditorium. Despite the awkwardness Bella often brought into our interactions, these moments highlighted the strength of our family's bond and the respect I had garnered in my professional life. Mateo and I navigated these encounters with the understanding that, while not all relationships are straightforward, the support we have for each other and the recognition from those who truly know us were what mattered most. I'm here on some business, I replied to Bella, trying to keep my tone modest yet clear despite the awkwardness her questions introduced in front of my colleagues. Bella, however, didn't let up. But this meeting is only for doctors and nurses, right? Why would a part-timer be here? She prodded, her skepticism thinly veiled. Her question hung in the air, casting an uncomfortable silence over the corridor, as if questioning my presence was questioning my worth. A murmur of disbelief spread among the doctors. Is she serious? One whispered, concern lacing his words. I attempted to remain calm, not wanting to escalate the tension, but Bella persisted. Why are you ignoring me? You seem lost. The auditorium isn't this way. If you're looking for part-time work, it's in the other direction. Now, please leave, she said, disdain evident in her voice. The doctors around us were visibly taken aback by Bella's rudeness, moving to my side in a show of support. They collectively voiced their disapproval, their expressions a mix of disappointment and anger. What kind of way is that to speak to Anna? Apologize to her now. They insisted, their united stance making it clear they found Bella's behavior unacceptable. Confused by the pushback, Bella tried to defend her stance, insisting I didn't belong at the meeting meant for relevant personnel. But I had had enough. Bella, you really are bold, or is it that you're just oblivious? I replied, my patience worn thin. Her inability to grasp the gravity of her actions was astonishing. You'll understand soon enough the repercussions of your actions and words, I added, the doctors around us nodding in agreement, their looks of sympathy for Bella non-existent. You might want to start looking for another job while you still can, one doctor commented, reflecting the group's sentiment. Bella's frustration grew as she couldn't comprehend why I was held in such high regard. Why are all of you defending her so much? I don't get why she's so special, she exclaimed. The revelation that I was the new surgical specialist, unknown to Bella, only added to her embarrassment. So, you didn't know Anna? That's quite unfortunate, another doctor chimed in, highlighting Bella's ignorance. Her frustration boiled over, demanding an explanation, unable to understand how she had misjudged the situation so gravely. To me, Bella's attitude was a stark reminder of the importance of respecting every individual's role and contribution, regardless of their job title. The fact that someone with such a narrow view of professional worth was among us was disheartening. Unbeknownst to her, I was exactly the person she should have shown the most respect to. As the doctors left the scene, their cold stares toward Bella spoke volumes, leaving her isolated in her misunderstanding and reminding everyone of the value of respect and recognition in our diverse professional community. I'll catch up with you later, Bella. You might think less of Matteo because he's a nurse, but trying to measure up to him is a challenge you'll never win. Your competitive nature really misses the mark here, I replied calmly, shaking my head slightly at her misunderstanding. Bella, clearly caught off guard, pressed. Hold on, who are you exactly? You're not just a part-timer, are you? Her voice rose with curiosity and a hint of frustration. With a knowing smile, I said, You'll understand everything in due time, and quickly made my way to the auditorium, leaving Bella in a state of confusion. As I entered the auditorium, I noticed it was already filled with doctors, and the director was about to start the meeting. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Today, we discuss our hospital's future and some exciting new plans, he began, capturing everyone's attention. Matteo found me in the crowd and whispered, Anna, did Bella cause any trouble? I assured him it was a minor misunderstanding, and we shared a quiet laugh at the situation. The director then announced an overseas training program, a first for our hospital, selecting 10 medical professionals for the opportunity. The room buzzed with excitement at the prospect of learning advanced medical techniques abroad. To everyone's surprise, the director first called out Dr. Bella for her outstanding clinical skills, making her one of the chosen for the overseas training. Despite the earlier conflict, her professional achievements were undeniable, and the applause that followed was genuine. As the director continued naming the selected participants, the atmosphere was filled with a mix of anticipation and support. Though Matteo's name wasn't called, he remained upbeat, celebrating his colleagues' opportunities. When it was time for the selected individuals to speak, each expressed their gratitude and determination. Bella, speaking with her usual confidence, thanked everyone for the opportunity and pledged to bring back advanced medical knowledge to benefit the hospital. However, in a twist of irony, Bella ended her speech by pointing out the hospital's supposed lack of experienced nurses, perhaps forgetting her earlier encounter and the lesson it should have taught about humility and respect. Bella's bold statement about the need to address the hospital's shortcomings, including those who fail exams and non-regular staff attending medical conferences, shifted the mood of the gathering. Her remarks, meant to highlight issues, only served to alienate her from the audience, with even the director's gaze growing stern, adding gravity to the situation. The director, maintaining his calm, directly addressed Bella, asking if her comments were aimed at certain individuals present. Bella, with unwavering confidence, affirmed that she was indeed referring to those she deemed unfit for such a prestigious gathering. In a surprising turn, the director called me Anna to the front, making me the unexpected focus of everyone's attention. Bella's confusion was palpable as she struggled to understand why I was being highlighted. The director expressed his disappointment in Bella's judgment and asked me to introduce myself. I shared my journey, including my role as the head of the medical department and my temporary departure for maternity leave, announcing my return to work. Bella's reaction to learning I was the chief of the medical department was one of utter surprise, her disbelief echoing through the room. The director's revelation that I was also his daughter added a layer of complexity to the situation, leaving Bella speechless. The director then announced Bella's assignment as the team leader for an upcoming training mission in a conflict zone in the Middle East, a challenging assignment that would test her skills. He mentioned that I would be there to support her, urging Bella to learn as much as she could. In response to Bella's assertion of her clinical skills, I clarified the significance of my future role in taking over the directorship of the hospital from my father, implying that Bella's future at the hospital could depend on her behavior and attitude. Bella's reaction shifted from shock to agitation, realizing the implications of her earlier disrespect. The director concluded the meeting by emphasizing that, while excellence is important, the true measure of success in the hospital is the results one achieves. He expressed high expectations for Bella, leaving her in a reflective silence. This moment underscored the importance of respect, teamwork, and the understanding that positions and titles do not necessarily reflect one's contribution or importance within a professional community. After the meeting adjourned, everyone dispersed back to their duties. Stepping out, I suggested to Matteo, "How about we grab some lunch?" "I'm in the mood for pasta." Together, we walked toward our go-to pasta spot, leaving the hospital's hustle behind. As we neared the small designated smoking area, we noticed Bella, lost in thought with a cigarette in hand. Our eyes met briefly, but she quickly looked away. Suddenly, our casual stroll was interrupted by the loud sound of a car crash nearby. Without hesitation, Matteo and I rushed to the scene. Matteo, with his emergency nurse instincts, immediately checked on the accident victims, including a pedestrian caught in the chaos. Bella followed but seemed unsure amidst the emergency. I started giving out instructions based on our medical training. "Matteo, help that man to safety and check his pulse," I directed, relying on Matteo's proven skills honed under my guidance in various medical situations. To Bella, I said, "Check the elderly person for bleeding and consciousness," hoping she'd snap into her professional role. However, Bella froze, overwhelmed by the urgency. When Bella hesitated, I urged her more firmly, but she responded with panic, unsure of what to do. Her inaction only added to the moment's stress. In a critical tone, I questioned her capability, which sparked a defensive but ineffective flurry of activity from her. Turning back to Matteo, I instructed, "Please, check the elderly person's blood pressure and look for any signs of bleeding." Matteo immediately set to work, bringing some order to the chaos. Seeing Bella's lack of useful action, Matteo sternly told her to either help or step aside. Her protest was cut short as Matteo emphasized the gravity of our task. Eventually, Bella stepped back, unable to contribute. Matteo updated me on the victim's conditions, suggesting a thorough check for any internal injuries. I coordinated the emergency response, demonstrating the importance of teamwork and quick action in such situations. When I asked Bella to call an ambulance, her hesitation showed again. Matteo had to take over, swiftly arranging for medical backup. The arrival of emergency services began to stabilize the scene, drawing a crowd of medical personnel. I then addressed Bella directly, pointing out her actions were more obstructive than helpful. I questioned her on what she believed she had achieved in this critical moment. Her silence was telling. I reminded her that in our field, every second counts and that this was no place for ego. Bella's quiet apology was a somber acknowledgement of the lessons learned that day. After the incident at the accident scene, the quiet crowd, including the director, watched as I addressed Bella. She stood out, looking both out of place and embarrassed. "Bella, you've underestimated Matteo just because he's a nurse. But comparing yourself to him doesn't make sense. He's one of the most skilled nurses here. Can't you see how your actions today fell short?" I pointed out, hoping to make her understand the gravity of her actions. Bella, still holding on to a bit of pride, argued that with more emergency experience, she could have handled the situation better. Mateo, however, saw through her facade. Your drive for recognition has blinded you to your actual skill level, which, as today has shown, is lacking, he said, highlighting the gap between her aspirations and her abilities. Mateo's words hinted at a larger issue. Bella's misplaced confidence might prevent her from gaining the emergency experience she claimed to desire. Her facade began to crumble, and she looked close to tears, aware of the judgmental eyes around her. In this critical moment, I had to make a tough decision for Bella's future. Bella, because of today's events, we're removing you from the list for overseas training, I announced. I sought the director's approval, and he agreed, suggesting this incident could lead us to rethink our selection criteria for training opportunities. I then gave Bella a piece of advice, hoping it might guide her towards genuine improvement. You need to start from the basics again. That's the only way you'll truly be able to stand on equal footing with Mateo. And remember, judging someone's value by their job title is dangerous. While we considered letting you go, we're giving you one last chance. Use it wisely. As time passed, the day for the overseas training finally arrived for Mateo and me, filled with anticipation for what we would learn. As for Bella, news reached me that she had resigned a month after the incident, unable to face the judgment from her colleagues. In my eyes, this was perhaps for the best. A doctor driven by pride above all else isn't fit to care for patients. On our way to the airport, I shared my hope with Mateo. Let's use what we learned to make our hospital renowned worldwide. Mateo, equally determined, added, I'll work even harder to get my medical license. This incident reaffirmed my commitment to my duties as a doctor and the importance of humility, skill, and dedication in our profession. Being 47 and single is often joked about as being past your prime, but my sister Aurora took it to another level. In our family's backyard, with everyone watching, she boasted about her rich, handsome, and brilliant husband. It was a spectacle, especially since we grew up together in this house, always at odds. I, Stella, have always been under Aurora's shadow, enduring her demands because I was the older one. But I've reached my limit. I'm no longer holding back my true feelings for Aurora. I'm a 47-year-old stay-at-home mom now. I left my job in medical administration when my daughter, who is now 5, was born. I cherished the time at home, eagerly waiting for my kindergartner daughter and loving husband to return each day. Stella, I'm home, my husband Wyatt calls out, bringing warmth to our home. Welcome back, Daddy. Our daughter Elena greets him. Wyatt is an involved dad and husband. He supports me by taking over household chores on his days off. Our daughter loves drawing, especially family portraits, which melts our hearts. One day, an unexpected call from Aurora broke years of silence between us. She had news of our grandmother's passing and insisted I attend the funeral, despite our estrangement. It was a harsh reminder of our complicated relationship, but it also made me reflect on the strength and love within my own little family. Aurora found me on Marketing Manager and couldn't help but comment on how simple my life seemed. Still single, huh? I don't see a ring. Not much happening on your profile. Hope you're not lonely as you get older, she said, barely hiding her laughter. It reminded me of her mocking look from our childhood, stirring up old feelings just before she hung up. We grew up in a well-to-do family, under the strict eye of our grandfather and the gentle care of our grandmother. Our dad always did as grandfather said, and our mom worked hard to please. I was always the odd one out compared to Aurora, maybe because she looked more like dad and I took after mom. Grandma was sweet to me, but in our male-dominated household, not being the favorite had its challenges. Aurora got whatever she wanted, and I, the older sister, had to put up with it all from toys to hobbies, and even what we ate. Aurora claimed everything as hers from the moment she could. While I was sent to the local public high school, Aurora attended a prestigious private girls' school, becoming the darling of her social circle, often hosting tea parties. One day, I accidentally walked into one of these gatherings. Oh, is that you, Stella? Could you go away? Your sad look is spoiling the mood, she said without a hint of kindness, while I silently walked away. To her friends, she dismissed me as hopeless and boring. After finishing high school, where my sister often called me hopeless and boring, I worked hard and attended a vocational school to become a medical administrative assistant. It was rewarding to support both patients and healthcare staff. At my job, I met Andrew, a bright and ambitious trainee doctor. We hit it off and started going out, feeling a connection but needing a little nudge to make it official. During a rare visit home, I mentioned Andrew to my mom, and surprisingly, Aurora, who usually kept her distance, joined the conversation with a warm smile, expressing her envy and curiosity about him. Despite our past, I was touched and shared more about Andrew, encouraged by both Aurora and Mom. Encouraged, Andrew and I started dating, and Aurora even congratulated us, suggesting we meet at her place someday. It seemed like Aurora had grown and was becoming more supportive, which made me hopeful for our sisterly bond. However, my optimism was short-lived. I introduced Andrew to Aurora, planning for a happy future together. But Aurora's interaction with Andrew changed everything. Her flirty comments and the way she said she wished she had met him first should have been red flags. Aurora, who I thought had changed, ended up betraying me by pursuing Andrew behind my back, leading to the end of our engagement and my relationship with her. This painful event forced me to cut ties with Aurora as her actions showed she hadn't changed at all. Their kind words touched me deeply, and tears began to flow. Aurora comforted me, and for a moment, I felt the warmth of family. I imagined a future filled with joy. But about a month later, when I was planning to visit my parents with William, he called with shocking news. "I can't marry you, Stella," he said, leaving me bewildered and heartbroken. He asked me not to contact him again, and then he was gone, blocking me on all fronts. Confused and seeking answers, I went to my parents' house, where I encountered Aurora and Andrew together, her victorious smirk unforgettable. I rushed out, seeking solitude on a park bench under the pouring rain, numb to everything but my thoughts. Then Aurora called, unapologetically admitting she pursued Andrew for herself, revealing their secret interactions and intimacy. "What's yours is mine," she taunted, thanking me for introducing them. Her words cut deep, confirming my worst fears. In response, I severed all ties, changing my number, moving, and finding a new job away from William. Aurora's betrayal, now evident in her gleeful marketing manager presence, left a scar, but also a clear path away from the pain she caused. Just 5 minutes ago, Aurora found my marketing manager profile after years of silence. She commented on my simple lifestyle, something she couldn't imagine for herself, yet called me her beloved sister and linked to my account, drawing attention from her friends. Their surprise at our contrasting lives and Aurora's feigned concern overwhelmed me, and I had to switch off my phone. Her action reignited old wounds and stirred a desire for retribution within me. Despite my reluctance, I attended our grandmother's funeral, honoring her final wish. Aurora greeted me with a sly comment on my appearance, echoing her online remarks. William, Aurora's husband, couldn't meet my gaze, reflecting the awkwardness of the situation. Then, Aurora's young son, Jackson, innocently pointed out my age, a stark reminder of Aurora's influence on him. Aurora proudly introduced Jackson, boasting about his intelligence and schooling, aiming another jab at my single status. The situation escalated when my daughter Elena and my husband Wyatt joined us. Wyatt, the accomplished director of a renowned hospital, surprised everyone, including Aurora, with his presence and our family's achievements. Aurora's mocking laughter ceased as Wyatt and Elena's presence revealed a different reality from the one she tried to portray. The encounter at the funeral, while painful, allowed me to confront the past and move forward with my family by my side, stronger and more united than ever. After I left my family behind and started a new job at the hospital, I met Wyatt. He was a young doctor freshly starting his career, and he noticed how attentively I interacted with patients and supported the medical staff. This connection between us grew stronger, and we began dating genuinely. It was during a family gathering that the unexpected happened. Aurora and Andrew were taken aback, possibly shocked by Wyatt's parents' reactions to our relationship. Amidst this, Jackson, Aurora's son, recognized Elena from her popular Axel channel on YouTube, which boasts 200,000 followers. He excitedly asked to be friends, drawn to her just like many others. However, Elena, still upset over Jackson's earlier rudeness to me, declined his friendship with a pout, leaving Jackson surprised and looking accusingly at Aurora. The situation escalated when Aurora tried to undermine me by boasting about her marketing manager following, only to be put in her place when I mentioned my focus was on Elena's channel, not personal accolades. The revelation of our hidden wedding rings, worn as necklaces to keep them safe from curious little hands, left Aurora speechless, especially when she realized who Wyatt was. Andrew had to intervene, apologizing for Aurora's behavior, acknowledging my status not just as someone to be belittled, but as the wife of the hospital director, a position of respect and authority. In that moment, the dynamics shifted. Aurora's attempts to demean us fell flat, and William's apology, though it couldn't undo the hurt, showed a willingness to mend bridges. For us, it was enough. We were there to honor a beloved family member's memory, not to dwell on past grievances. Our focus was on the present and the future we're building together, a future where the strength of our family bond and the success of our endeavors speak louder than any words of doubt or jealousy. We went to my wife's cherished grandmother's funeral, which brought a moment of unity despite the undercurrents of family tension. After paying our respects, I took the opportunity to introduce my family to my parents. My mom was visibly moved, tears of joy mingling with her smiles, while my dad, still showing a preference for Aurora, maintained a reserved demeanor. My mom's wish for us to visit again hung in the air, but all I could muster was a nervous giggle, knowing the complexities of our family dynamics. A few days later, wary of Aurora's knack for manipulation, I hesitantly checked marketing manager, half expecting her to twist our recent interaction to her advantage. True to form, Aurora had posted a picture of Elena's back, claiming a chance encounter that led to an autograph a clear fabrication. The picture, taken in a way that hid everything but Elena's silhouette, was an obvious ploy for attention. I couldn't help but react, asking her to take down the photo, which only led Aurora to publicly call me out for jealousy, turning her followers against me. Realizing direct confrontation was futile, I took to the Axel channel to set the record straight. I clarified that the photo was posted without our consent, highlighted the impossibility of the autograph claim, and emphasized the importance of internet safety for kids. Through a video featuring Elena, we educated our audience on why consent is crucial online, turning a negative situation into a teachable moment. This approach not only addressed the issue but also reinforced our values, demonstrating the power of positivity and truth in the face of deceit. We made a video explaining why it's not okay to share someone's photo without asking them first. This video, designed to be easy for kids to understand, was well received, earning lots of positive feedback. Not long after, Aurora, trying to reconnect via a new account after her original one was suspended, reached out. Her message wasn't apologetic. Instead, she blamed me for the suspension, claiming her right to fame as family. Her attitude was a stark reminder of her true self, always seeking attention at others' expense. I reminded her about the importance of honesty online and suggested she put more effort into her new account without resorting to dishonesty. Despite initiating contact, she acted as if I was the one intruding on her life, continuing to share her seemingly perfect life online with friends old and new. Then, an old friend of Aurora's, recognizable from a shared past, reached out with concerns about Aurora's behavior. She revealed that Aurora was pressuring her and others from their elite school circle into supporting her online facade, sometimes even crashing their gatherings uninvited. Aurora supposedly had something over them, but this friend doubted the truth of these claims. I advised her to challenge Aurora for proof, suspecting these were just manipulative tactics. This conversation revealed a pattern of Aurora exploiting relationships for her gain, leaving a trail of strained friendships. In advising her friend, I hoped to unravel Aurora's manipulations, advocating for truth and integrity in the face of deceit. Aurora always liked being the star, thinking she could get away with anything by just claiming she had dirt on someone. When a friend of hers, also a mom, told me a story that sounded all too familiar, it clicked that Aurora's influence was waning. Her marketing manager, once bustling with interactions, was now quiet, a stark shift that raised eyebrows. Following my suggestion, her friends confronted her for proof of her so-called leverage, but unsurprisingly, there was none. Slowly, Aurora's circle began to see her true colors, and her online presence grew lonelier. I even ended up bonding with those who shared their stories, finding solidarity in our experiences with Aurora's manipulations. Around the same time, Wyatt, my husband, started coming home late from the hospital. The atmosphere there was tense, everyone too busy to chat, even when I brought snacks. It was clear something big was happening, but nobody would spill the beans, leaving me feeling out of place for asking. Finally, Wyatt explained it all one evening. William, Aurora's husband, had messed up big time at work, making a serious medical mistake. Despite attempts to keep it under wraps, an anonymous tip brought everything to light. Wyatt, looking more serious than I'd ever seen him, said such a breach of trust was inexcusable for a doctor tasked with caring for others. I couldn't agree more. Trust in a doctor is sacred, and betraying that trust is unforgivable. We had to let Andrew go due to his behavior and poor attitude at work, which made it unlikely for him to be hired again. Wyatt, who knew about my personal circumstances shared during my grandmother's funeral, expressed his concern for Aurora's family. I found out about Aurora's further troubles through a call from someone after a long time. My estranged mother, who my father had barred from contacting me, informed me that Aurora was ostracized by our family. This was after she divorced Andrew following his professional mistake and their endless arguments, which led to William's job loss and financial downfall. Jackson, as a result, was placed in a care facility. This whole ordeal also unveiled Aurora's true nature to my father. Despite the difficult circumstances, neither my father nor I could take Jackson in. We're getting older and might need care ourselves soon. After my father disowned Aurora because of her divorce, it became even harder. My mother regretted how Aurora turned out, feeling guilty for spoiling her. However, they chose to support Jackson financially in secret through his care facility. My mother, overwhelmed with guilt, cried and apologized repeatedly. I reassured her, understanding that she and my grandmother did what they thought was best. Nonetheless, I admitted that my childhood home didn't hold many fond memories for me, so I sought to maintain some distance. On a lighter note, we planned a family outing to the amusement park, something Elena, my daughter, was excited about, especially for the Ladybug coaster. We decided to document the fun, joking about dressing up for the occasion. Elena adorably protested, not wanting everyone to see how cute her mom is, despite boasting about her to her friends. Wyatt agreed with Elena, which made me incredibly happy. Their love and the peaceful, happy life we share mean everything to me.
In a quaint town, bathed in the soft, warm hues of a setting sun, a scene unfolds that feels like it's straight out of a fairy tale. The main character of our story is Anna, a loving mother who finds joy in life's simple pleasures, like picking up her beloved daughter Lydia from school. On this particular day, as Anna waits in her car, she's captivated by the sight of children joyously reuniting with their parents, a sight as comforting as the beautiful sunset painting the sky in vibrant shades of orange and red. In a moment of distraction, drawn by the breathtaking view, Anna steps out of her car, not noticing a man jogging by. Their unexpected collision sends his water bottle tumbling to the ground, marking the beginning of a whimsical encounter. Flustered, Anna apologizes profusely, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. But as their eyes meet, a spark ignites between them. The man, Isaiah, exudes a warmth and charm that feels almost otherworldly to Anna. His smile, gentle and reassuring, seems to pause time itself. Isaiah, with the grace of someone who's just stepped out of a myth, reassures her with a smile and retrieves his bottle. The brief touch of their hands sends shivers down Anna's spine, a sensation so vivid it feels like destiny. Isaiah introduces himself with a hint of amusement, finding the situation slightly humorous, which only adds to his allure. Anna finds herself drawn to this stranger, Isaiah, whose appearance strikes her as not just attractive but captivating, with a presence that's hard to ignore. It's as if fate itself had orchestrated this meeting, setting the stage for a story filled with unexpected twists and turns. As our story progresses, the bond between Anna and Isaiah grows, leading them to a day that should be filled with joy and celebration. However, it's at their wedding ceremony that an unforeseen event unfolds. Lydia, Anna's precious daughter, in a dramatic turn of events, halts the wedding with a plea to her mother. Her revelation about Isaiah is so shocking that it leaves Anna faint and the guests in utter disbelief. This moment of revelation not only changes the course of their lives, but also leaves everyone present in a state of shock, wondering what secrets lie beneath the surface of seemingly perfect moments. As Anna parted ways with the stranger, she couldn't shake off the memory of their brief encounter. "See you around, Anna," he had said with a captivating glance, before melting into the crowd. Not long after, her daughter joined her, and together they returned home. The very next day, while Anna was at school waiting for Lydia, she found herself consumed by thoughts of Isaiah. Despite the briefness of their meeting, it had left a significant imprint on her mind. It seemed like destiny had its own plans, as there he was again, jogging in her direction. "And we meet again," he greeted her with a warm smile, to which Anna responded with a mixture of surprise and delight. They engaged in a short conversation, during which a mutual attraction was undeniable. Before parting ways, Isaiah, driven by a sense of urgency, asked for Anna's number. "I think I'll regret it if I don't ask for your number now," he admitted, hope glinting in his eyes. Anna, feeling a rush of excitement, agreed, and they planned to meet again. She was amazed at how a chance meeting could potentially alter the course of her life. As Lydia ran up to her, exclaiming "Mommy," the two headed home. In the car, when Lydia inquired about the man her mother was speaking to, Anna revealed she was going on a date, sparking joy in Lydia's heart. The little girl was overjoyed at the thought of her mother finding happiness again, especially after the tragedy that had struck their family 5 years earlier, when Anna's husband and Lydia's father had died in a car crash. Since then, Anna had devoted herself to raising Lydia, balancing her career as a successful architect with her aspirations of starting her own firm. Living in a lovely home and providing for Lydia's future, Anna was determined to rebuild their lives with love and happiness. Despite their past sorrows, the prospect of new beginnings brought a sense of hope and excitement to their lives. In a world adorned with professional achievements, material comfort, and the unconditional love of her daughter, Anna, an architect, nonetheless felt a profound solitude. The loss of her husband had carved a lasting void in her heart, a void that seemed impervious to the healing touch of time. Despite the encouragement of her daughter, Lydia, now a vibrant teenager of 15, Anna hesitated to embark on a new quest for love. Lydia, the beacon of joy in Anna's life, was also a poignant reminder of the profound happiness that had slipped away with her husband's untimely demise. In a quaint town, bathed in the soft, warm hues of a setting sun, a scene unfolds that feels like it's straight out of a fairy tale. The main character of our story is Anna, a loving mother who finds joy in life's simple pleasures, like picking up her beloved daughter Lydia from school. On this particular day, as Anna waits in her car, she's captivated by the sight of children joyously reuniting with their parents. A sight as comforting as the beautiful sunset painting the sky in vibrant shades of orange and red. In a moment of distraction, drawn by the breathtaking view, Anna steps out of her car, not noticing a man jogging by. Their unexpected collision sends his water bottle tumbling to the ground, marking the beginning of a whimsical encounter. Flustered, Anna apologizes profusely, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. But as their eyes meet, a spark ignites between them. The man, Isaiah, exudes a warmth and charm that feels almost otherworldly to Anna. His smile, gentle and reassuring, seems to pause time itself. Isaiah, with the grace of someone who's just stepped out of a myth, reassures her with a smile and retrieves his bottle. The brief touch of their hands sends shivers down Anna's spine, a sensation so vivid it feels like destiny. Isaiah introduces himself with a hint of amusement, finding the situation slightly humorous, which only adds to his allure. Anna finds herself drawn to this stranger, Isaiah, whose appearance strikes her as not just attractive, but captivating, with a presence that's hard to ignore. It's as if fate itself had orchestrated this meeting, setting the stage for a story filled with unexpected twists and turns. As our story progresses, the bond between Anna and Isaiah grows, leading them to a day that should be filled with joy and celebration. However, it's at their wedding ceremony that an unforeseen event unfolds. Lydia, Anna's precious daughter, in a dramatic turn of events, halts the wedding with a plea to her mother. Her revelation about Isaiah is so shocking that it leaves Anna faint and the guests in utter disbelief. This moment of revelation not only changes the course of their lives, but also leaves everyone present in a state of shock, wondering what secrets lie beneath the surface of seemingly perfect moments. As Anna parted ways with the stranger, she couldn't shake off the memory of their brief encounter. "See you around, Anna," he had said with a captivating glance before melting into the crowd. Not long after, her daughter joined her, and together they returned home. The very next day, while Anna was at school waiting for Lydia, she found herself consumed by thoughts of Isaiah. Despite the briefness of their meeting, it had left a significant imprint on her mind. It seemed like destiny had its own plans, as there he was again, jogging in her direction. "And we meet again," he greeted her with a warm smile, to which Anna responded with a mixture of surprise and delight. They engaged in a short conversation, during which a mutual attraction was undeniable. Before parting ways, Isaiah, driven by a sense of urgency, asked for Anna's number. "I think I'll regret it if I don't ask for your number now," he admitted, hope glinting in his eyes. Anna, feeling a rush of excitement, agreed, and they planned to meet again. She was amazed at how a chance meeting could potentially alter the course of her life. As Lydia ran up to her, exclaiming "Mommy," the two headed home. In the car, when Lydia inquired about the man her mother was speaking to, Anna revealed she was going on a date, sparking joy in Lydia's heart. The little girl was overjoyed at the thought of her mother finding happiness again, especially after the tragedy that had struck their family 5 years earlier, when Anna's husband and Lydia's father had died in a car crash. Since then, Anna had devoted herself to raising Lydia, balancing her career as a successful architect with her aspirations of starting her own firm. Living in a lovely home and providing for Lydia's future, Anna was determined to rebuild their lives with love and happiness. Despite their past sorrows, the prospect of new beginnings brought a sense of hope and excitement to their lives. In a world adorned with professional achievements, material comfort, and the unconditional love of her daughter, Anna, an architect, nonetheless felt a profound solitude. The loss of her husband had carved a lasting void in her heart, a void that seemed impervious to the healing touch of time. Despite the encouragement of her daughter, Lydia, now a vibrant teenager of 15, Anna hesitated to embark on a new quest for love. Lydia, the beacon of joy in Anna's life, was also a poignant reminder of the profound happiness that had slipped away with her husband's untimely demise. Lydia's unease cast a shadow over Anna's newfound joy, leaving her torn between the pursuit of personal happiness and the protective instincts she harbored as a mother. The dilemma was profound, how should she weigh her daughter's apprehensions against the possibility of love? Despite the seeds of doubt sown by Lydia's words, Anna chose to lean into hope, believing that with time, Lydia would come to see Isaiah in the same light she did. As Isaiah became a more permanent fixture in their lives, visiting their home with increasing frequency and integrating himself into their daily routines, Lydia sensed a troubling shift. To her, it appeared as though Isaiah was overstepping, slowly assuming a role in their household that felt uninvited. Anna, however, seemed oblivious to this subtle encroachment. The narrative took a disconcerting turn when Isaiah disclosed that his insurance business had faltered, plunging him into financial distress. In response to his plight, Anna, driven by compassion, extended a significant loan to aid his recovery. The complexities of their relationship deepened further when Isaiah introduced his sister, claiming she was in search of employment and a temporary place to stay. Anna, ever the gracious host, not only offered shelter, but also promised to assist in finding her a position within her social media office, eager to support Isaiah's family. However, Lydia's discomfort only grew as these developments unfolded. Her intuition screamed that something was amiss, prompting her to voice her concerns to her mother repeatedly. "Mom, I think he's lying to you," she cautioned, after overhearing a suspicious conversation between Isaiah and his sister. Confused and concerned, Anna sought clarification, but Lydia struggled to articulate her suspicions fully, having caught only fragments of the exchange. Anna, caught between her daughter's anxieties and her own desires for a harmonious family life, urged Lydia to embrace a more welcoming attitude towards Isaiah and his sister. "They're part of our family now, okay?" she suggested, hoping to bridge the gap between her daughter's instincts and the life she envisioned with Isaiah. This unfolding story weaves a complex tapestry of trust, intuition, and the lengths to which one might go to protect or embrace new possibilities. Anna's journey underscores the delicate balance between the heart's yearnings and the silent warnings of those we hold dear, leaving us to ponder the true cost of overlooking the instincts that often guide us toward truth. Months rolled by, and Lydia's sense of unease around Isaiah and his sister only deepened. She couldn't fathom how her mother, Anna, remained blind to the red flags that were so glaringly obvious to her. How can Mommy not see what's wrong with him? Lydia pondered in frustration, feeling helpless in her attempts to unveil the truth to her mother. Anna, on the other hand, was hopeful that Lydia would eventually warm up to Isaiah, believing that their relationship would grow stronger over time. However, destiny had a twist in store that would complicate matters further. Isaiah, seizing a moment of deep affection, proposed to Anna. Caught up in the whirlwind of romance and still healing from her past loss, Anna accepted without hesitation, convinced she had found the love she yearned for since her husband's passing. The announcement of their engagement should have been a joyous occasion, but it only served to heighten Lydia's resolve to oppose the union. She tried everything in her power to convince her mother to reconsider, pleading, arguing, and voicing her distrust for Isaiah, noting his frequent requests for money and his sister's suspicious behavior. Despite Lydia's earnest efforts, Anna proceeded with the wedding plans, firmly believing that they were becoming a true family and that her happiness should be enough to sway Lydia's feelings. As the wedding day approached, the atmosphere was bittersweet. The venue was set to perfection, embodying Anna's dream of a second chance at love. She felt that her late husband would have blessed this new beginning, wishing happiness for her and Lydia. Yet, the eve of the wedding was marred by a heated argument between mother and daughter, culminating in Lydia's adamant refusal to attend the ceremony. Distraught but bound by her commitments, Anna moved forward with the wedding in Lydia's absence, clinging to the hope that time would mend their strained relationship and that Lydia would eventually accept Isaiah as part of their family. The wedding proceeded amidst a mix of joy and underlying tension, marking the start of a new chapter in Anna's life, one filled with hope for reconciliation and the daunting task of bridging the gap between her new husband and her daughter. The future loomed uncertain, with the challenge of forging a harmonious family dynamic and addressing the lingering doubts and fears that threatened their unity. As Anna made her way down the aisle, the setting was nothing short of magical. Her fiancé, Isaiah, stood at the altar, beaming with joy, with Jamel by his side, playing the role of maid of honor. Despite the beauty of the moment, Anna's heart was burdened by Lydia's absence. Yet she held on to hope that her daughter would eventually come to terms with and embrace this new chapter in their lives. The ceremony progressed smoothly until it reached the pivotal moment of vows. Just as the priest asked Anna if she took Isaiah to be her lawfully wedded husband, an unexpected drama unfolded. The church doors swung open, and Lydia burst in, pleading with her mother to halt the wedding. The congregation was abuzz with shock and whispers, their attention riveting to the dramatic interruption. Anna, bewildered, faced her daughter, seeking an explanation for her dramatic entrance. Isaiah's reaction was one of outrage, accusing Lydia of overstepping her boundaries and attempting to sabotage their special day. Yet, Lydia stood her ground, unwavering in her resolve as she confronted Isaiah with evidence in her hand, a cell phone. With the attention of the entire church on her, Lydia revealed a damning photo on her phone, Isaiah in an intimate embrace with Jam, who was not his sister but his partner in deceit. Isaiah's protests of innocence and claims of manipulation fell on deaf ears as Lydia played an audio recording. The recording captured Isaiah and Jam gloating over their scheme to swindle Anna, referring to her as a naive widow from whom they intended to extract wealth. The revelation was a bombshell, leaving the congregation in utter disbelief. The evidence of Isaiah's duplicity and his and Jam's true intentions laid bare their scam, turning what was meant to be a day of celebration into a moment of shocking truth. Anna was left reeling from the revelation, her hopes for a new beginning shattered by the betrayal. Lydia's intervention, although disruptive, had unveiled the truth, protecting her mother from further deceit. The wedding was abruptly halted and the scam exposed, marking a turning point in Anna and Lydia's relationship and their lives. The aftermath of the revelation was a testament to Lydia's dedication to her mother's well-being and the importance of trust and intuition within the bonds of family. From the very start, Isaiah and Jam had orchestrated a deceitful plan, targeting Anna from their chance encounter outside the school all the way to the altar. Their aim was clear: to exploit Anna's wealth as a widow. However, their plot unraveled in the most dramatic fashion during the wedding ceremony. Thanks to Lydia's timely intervention and the evidence she courageously presented, realizing their scheme was exposed, Isaiah and Jam attempted to flee the scene, unaware that Lydia had already taken the precaution of alerting the police. The authorities were prepared and waiting outside the church, leading to the immediate arrest of the duo. Lydia's quick thinking and bravery spared her mother from a disastrous marriage, sealing their fate as criminals caught in the act. Anna's gratitude towards her daughter knew no bounds. "My princess, you are my greatest blessing. You've saved me from a terrible future," she expressed through tears, overwhelmed by relief and love for her daughter. Lydia's response was heartfelt, filled with hope for her mother's future happiness. True to Lydia's hopeful outlook, a new chapter began for Anna when Nolan, a new client with a heart of gold and a character of steel, approached her professional services. Nolan was different. He saw through Anna's past sorrows and valued the significance of Lydia in her life. Over time, he became an integral part of their lives, embodying the trust, safety, and love that Anna had longed for. Nolan's genuine care for Lydia, treating her as his own, healed the remnants of their past heartaches. Their relationship blossomed into a profound love, and soon the family welcomed a new addition, a baby girl, fulfilling Lydia's dream of having a little sister. The shadows of their past receded into distant memories, replaced by the love and happiness that now defined their existence. Together, they stepped forward into a future bright with hope and joy, leaving the darkness behind and embracing a new dawn of promises and dreams, waiting to be realized. This story, a testament to resilience, trust, and the power of genuine love, reminds us that after every storm, there is a rainbow waiting to shine through.